Good morning. Today we're going to talk about bike setup as it relates to the triathlon bike, prepping to ride any distance on the road. There's a couple things you want to bear in mind when you set up your bike to ride. The first thing you essentially want to look at is your tires. And the things you want to pay attention to are, number one, tire quality. You want to basically take your tire and spin it a little bit and just take a look at the tire itself. Spin it slowly. Does it spin freely through the brakes? What's the tire condition? Is there any balding on the top of the tire? Are there any gouge marks on the side of the tire? If it spins freely and you don't notice any marks or gouges or bald spots in the tire, you're in pretty good shape. Bear in mind that the rear tire will wear faster than the front tire, so that's one you want to pay a little more attention to. This is due to weight, obviously, in the back of your bike versus the front. And what you'll notice is when your tire is about to go is it will start to bald. You'll be able to see some of the threading through the top of the tire. So once you check your tires, making sure that there's no damage, no balding or gouge marks, divots out of the tire, you want to check your tire pressure. You can do this a couple different ways. I mean, I tend to sort of just get a feel for it. And in some cases, you eventually can kind of feel the tire and there's enough tension, enough pressure in there that you're in pretty good shape to ride. If you want to be a little more technical about it, you want to shoot for pounds per square inch, PSI, of around 115 to 120, or 110 to 120. Anything above 120 is not really going to be too beneficial, and you also may run the risk of popping a tube if you run it up above 120. So 110 to 120 is about perfect. Once you've established you have a good PSI in your tire, you want to take a look at your spokes. And what you should look for is, number one, is there any broken spoke? And that's usually pretty apparent when you look at your spokes. Whether you've actually snapped one, you're going to see it's fallen off and it's basically dangling down there inside the rim. But the other thing you might want to do is just kind of reach around and check to make sure that none of your spokes are actually loose. If they are loose, you can actually get a spoke wrench and tighten them yourself. What will probably happen if they are loose is that when you spin your tire, you'll notice that you've got a bit of a wobble back and forth. This means that your rim is out of true, and you do want to go ahead and take care of that if it's wobbling really drastically back and forth within the brakes. That's something that once again you can do yourself if you have a tire wrench, but it is a little bit of an art, so if you have some challenges with it, I would suggest taking it to your local bike shop and they can get your rim all trued up. So once your tire's all set, you've established that the PSI is right, spokes are tight, they're spinning freely within the brake pads. You just want to take a look at your bike itself and make sure that there's nothing that might be apparently loose. Check your water bottle cage. These tend to loosen up over time. Check your aero bars. Are they sitting steady and nice and tight? This is definitely not something you want to find out when you're on the road, that you're riding along, all of a sudden your aero bars start to slip or slide down or up. It's a pretty uncomfortable feeling, and it can actually lead to an accident. So it's kind of essential that these are nice and tight and secure. One other thing, looking back at your rims and your tire, the quick release. Usually the quick release is going to be nice and tight, or it should be nice and tight, I should say. And what you essentially want to shoot for is when you pop the quick release, it should be kind of a struggle, and it should kind of leave a mark on your hand. In my case, my hands are kind of dirty because my bike's a little bit dirty also. But what you want to shoot for is you might be able to see a little bit of mark in the palm of my hand. It should be a bit of a struggle to pop on and off. And you want to make sure that quick release is nice and tight. Again, for safety purposes, it would certainly be a bit of a disaster if your quick release came loose as you're riding. Those are kind of the essentials in terms of bike setup before heading out on a ride. There's a few more advanced things to check out on your bike that we won't go into this morning. But essentially, if you've gone through these steps and you've looked at your tire pressure, quick release, making sure tire quality is in good shape, you should be good to go to ride. We'll see you next time out.